Coming from TechCrunch, Apple says former employee exploited a rare bug to download confidential files after leaving for OpenAI. So I think this is an interesting story because one of the things that I keep haranguing about, I keep screaming about, is a whole concept of counterintelligence within the technology world, right? Within technology organizations. And everybody laughs at me at the exact same time. They all say very seriously how we're already in a war with China. So we're already in a war with China, but you think counterintelligence capabilities, resources in your tech organization is a laughable concept? Yeah. Anyways, that's the world we're in. But why I talk about counterintelligence is it is becoming more and more important for a lot of these technology companies, where the value of these corporations is in things like trade secrets. So one of the big things previously, especially in the technology world, is that most of these companies had intellectual property. So intellectual property, you put in your copyright, you put in your patent, and in the United States, you have a monopoly on the idea for something like 20 years. So even if other people figure out the idea on their own, whatever else, they still have to pay you a license fee in order to be able to access it. And so that's one of the ways companies make a lot of money. One of the problems that we're dealing with right now in 2026 is so much now is open source, and so much is basically just kind of a concept, like these ways of doing things where it's not easy to simply have some type of intellectual property that you quote unquote own. A lot of it essentially gets turned into trade secrets. It's workflows, it's how things are accomplished, it's the vendors that you use, it's expectations, it's a lot of that type of thing. And the thing is, that kind of information can be very, very valuable to your competitors, especially when you're dealing with a particular space where the competitors are supposedly worth $1 trillion, right? So here's the thing. If you're dealing with normal entrepreneurship, normal businesses with normal profit margins, they probably don't have enough money for real corporate espionage, right? If you have two burger joints in the same city, one of the burger joints probably just does not have enough money to launch an espionage campaign against the other burger joint. There's just not enough money on the table there. But you got to realize with companies like OpenAI, right, they have had like $150 billion of money pumped into them. And so they have a lot of excess cash laying around. And since they have a lot of excess cash laying around and they need to allocate it somehow, they might as well allocate it to things like industrial espionage. And that's where you get into this particular issue right here. On Friday, Apple dropped the bombshell news it was suing OpenAI over the alleged theft of trade secrets, claiming that OpenAI stole Apple's confidential data and engaged in efforts to learn proprietary information while recruiting former Apple employees. In accusing OpenAI of stealing secrets about Apple's unreleased products, Apple revealed that a former employee allegedly siphoned reams of sensitive files from the company's shared network folders weeks after leaving Apple for a job at OpenAI. In its complaint, Apple says the former employee, a system electrical engineer named Chang Lu, allegedly, quote, exploited a rare, previously unknown authentication bug that allowed access to the company's network. The bug is classified as a zero-day vulnerability, meaning that Apple had no time to fix it before it was allegedly exploited. Apple has since fixed the bug and said it terminated the employee's access once it learned of this security breach. In its complaint, Apple said the bug could have allowed a few other people to access data on its network, but alleged that only Lu exploited the bug to steal Apple's confidential information while no longer an employee, citing a check of its server logs. And so this is going to be one of the things that's going to be very difficult for a lot of these tech companies right now, and something to be concerned of with all these layoffs, right? So many of these technology companies right now are just laying off by the basketful, by the bushel, right? Meta lays off 8,000 employees. Microsoft just laid off another over 4,000, almost 5,000 employees. Oracle lays off 20 some odd thousand employees. All of these big technology companies are laying off massive numbers of employees. One of the things to be concerned about with these technology companies is when you lay off an HR person, when you lay off the janitor or whatever, they may be pissed. They may write a really nasty review about you on Glassdoor. But at the end of the day, let's face it, there's not a lot that they can do, right? We demand dignity. It's like, great, you keep demanding that. Off the fuck our property. Get the fuck off our property, right? That's how it works, right? We demand that you treat us like humans. That's cute. That's adorable. The issue that you get into with the technical staff, and especially with these technology companies, is many of them probably built the infrastructure, or many of them literally knows how the infrastructure operates. Again, we talk about things like protocols, authentication routines, how discovery on the network works, especially in a large operation. And the issue is you fire them, they can actually do some damage. They can actually cause you problems. So like with this, right? So basically they're talking about some kind of authentication bug. So imagine you have an engineer. You have an engineer working in a company like Apple. They're probably dealing with a lot of devices. They're probably dealing with a lot of services. They're dealing with a lot of different things that interact with the environment. So that employee, before that employee is laid off, before they're laid off, their account should be disabled, right? That's the normal thing to do. You better have a policy for that. You better also have a policy for auditing, making sure the proper accounts have been disabled. But the idea is you disable the user's account. Once they're disabled, they then get a phone call to tell them they're fired. And at that point, since their account's disabled, they can't delete emails. They can't access a server. They can't do all of those types of things, right? So that is supposed to protect the internal systems. The issue is if you're dealing with an engineer, the engineer may have been dealing with multiple devices, multiple accounts that basically may not even be logged anywhere, right? So if you're dealing with Active Directory, you're dealing with your normal user database system or whatever else, all the users, all the employees, all the contractors, all of those types of things, all of that should be appropriately logged somewhere. Here's the thing, if you're an engineer and you're spinning up like little devices and trying to figure out how that device can work with other devices, you may create accounts, you may create ways to connect to the system that basically isn't appropriately tracked by like fucking anybody because they just don't want to deal with it. Like the paperwork is not worth the time. You spin up 5 agents in a day, you figure it out, you delete 5 agents, who the hell cares? Well, here's the thing. If you spin up these little services, if you spin up these little accounts doing projects or whatever else, and then you get fired, your account has been disabled. Your account has been disabled. But if you still have access to these other little fucking things that are running around the systems, you then might be able to compromise the rest of the company systems. I think about this like with AI agents, right? You have all of these companies out there where they're pushing people to build all of these AI agents. And one of the things to be thinking about with these AI agents, what if you have employees build the AI agents to respond in ways or to look at things that might not be expected, right? So let's say you have an agent that has access to the internet. So it's an internal agent. It has access to the internal networks. It also has access to the internet, right? You build your little agent, and then once a day, or 50 times a day, who the fuck cares, it goes and looks at a specific URL. It looks at a specific URL, right? And if within that web page, so when they go to the web page, it's not like you have one word. It's not like you have one word and that's a command, because that would be scary. No, there's this whole thing, and basically on the page, if it sees one word or if it sees a series of words, that triggers a command for it to do something. You can think about this like, let's say you have an agent, and again, you want to obfuscate what's going on. So you have an agent that goes to something like a particular web page every day. Now you're a computer person, you're a technical person, right? So I don't want that agent going to my web page because that's gonna get tracked. It's gonna get tracked through DNS, it's gonna get tracked through routers or whatever else. That could get blocked, that could be tracked. So what I wanna do is I'm gonna have this agent track Ars Technica, a particular Ars Technica article. Like maybe it's a live feed. Like, so you see that sometimes, so like Ars Technica or Engadget or whatever, they'll do like a real time, like a live blog or whatever. So you create the agent. So what happens when you create the agent, it's every 5 minutes, hour, whatever else, it goes to this live feed, and then it's supposed to do information based off of that live feed. That's completely normal. Nobody would think much about that. But here's the thing. Now in the comment section, right, the comment section is also part of that webpage. So if you then, once you're fired from the company, go to the comment section, within the comment section, you type out a nifty little comment with a few key words in it, It then detects those keywords. It's internal to the system, and it starts doing, well, whatever the hell that geek was creative enough to get that agent to do. This is where you start getting into some very, very nasty things. So I wonder like how much more of this we're going to see in this particular era as technology people are thrown in the trash, and not just the ones that are thrown in the trash. Right? I think that's one of the interesting things going on is psychologically, the people that can be most damaged sometimes are not the ones that are actually laid off. They're the ones that survive the layoff, right? It can be most traumatic to the survivors themselves. Right? You sit there and you're this company and you're told you're all loved, you're all part of a family, it's all wonderful. And then all of a sudden you see half the employees get fired. You see half the employees get fired overnight. Now you're a survivor. You kept your job. But are you going to feel the same about that job tomorrow? Are you going to have the same loyalty? Are you going to start looking out for number one? And the question becomes, especially when you start talking about thousands and thousands and hundreds of thousands of technology employees, how many of those employees, when they're thinking about looking out for number one, they're not thinking about putting their resume onto LinkedIn. They're thinking about new and creative ways of creating agents internal to your systems that can respond to commands external to your systems. So anyways, some things to ponder about. As they say back in the old days, it's not whether or not you're paranoid. It's whether you're paranoid enough. Distrust, verify, and stay suspicious. I don't trust anybody. I do not trust everybody. House. Any geek out there, you're 18 years old, you're going to go in the technology world. There was this television show back in the early 2000s called House. Go watch all of House, all of it. Because as he says, everybody lies. Everybody lies basically about all the time. Never trust any of them. I trust systems. I don't trust human beings. But anyways, so what do you think about this? What do you think about an ex-Apple employee being able to access Apple's internal systems after it appears their primary account was disabled? What do you think about them going over to OpenAI for a real nice payday with all of that Apple information? What do you think about the new world of artificial intelligence where people are starting to get really nasty, right? This is the world that I know. This is the tech profession that I know. For the past 10 years, I haven't understood what's been going on. The past couple of years has just blown my mind. The whole idea, kumbaya, passion, we're all a family. Like, what the fuck are you talking about? No, we're not. No, we're not. We are employees in a corporate environment that are doing our jobs so that we can get enough resources to do the things in life that we actually care about. That is what being a technology professional is. What do you think about what's been going on for the past 10 years, all falling apart? And we are seeing the knives come out in the tech sector. Put your thoughts down below. If you like these episodes, do remember they're on Spotify and on Apple Podcasts. Link is down below. If you want to follow me on LinkedIn, there's a link down there too. With that, see y'all later.